we never had enough money. But my mother insisted that we get a good education. She said that she wanted her daughters to create their own destiny. She believed that we wanted to create a solid educational foundation. So she sent us to the best private school in the city she could afford and worked all day long to pay for it. I could sometimes hear my mother silently speaking to God, hoping and praying that she could save for it. On one hand, my mother tried to make two ends meet. On the other hand, she taught me how to stand up on my own 2 feet. At school, they taught me the periodic table. At home, my mother taught me how not to label. At school, I learned that the earth was not flat but round. At home, my mother taught me that what goes around always, always comes around. In physics, I learned that matter is any substance that has mass and takes up space. But at home, my mother taught me that what really matters is how I deal with failure when it is looking directly at my face. In chemistry, I learned that 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atoms make up water. But at home, my mother taught me all the lessons that her hardships taught her. You see, growing up, we never had enough money. But my mother insisted that we get a good education. She believed that she wanted her daughters to create their own destiny. She wanted us to have a solid educational foundation. And a foundation I got. The strongest load-bearing part of a building. But a battle she fought to make sure that private education was responsible for my learning. My education had become a privilege when it should have been a right. And I'm sure that my mother wasn't the only mother with her fangs out in this fight. Now you see, this was the 1990s. It is now 2019 in our so-called developed nation, with Beti bachao, Beti padhao as one of its most prominent slogans. When save your daughters, educate your daughters. When saving and educating should never have to be the part of the same sentence. We can no longer plead for our right to live and then demand our right to education. Instead, we demand our right to educate our sons, our daughters, our children, but most importantly, the so-called leaders of the nation. Because you see, just like my home, our country might not have enough money since it is a developing nation. But just like my mother, I want our leaders to insist that we get a good education. You must want India's daughters to create their own destiny and not feel like the last brick in a weak, politicized, corrupt foundation.